one of the abilities that you have to have when you're accountable is the humility to try something and to have it go wrong. And like you're saying, if you're accountable, then it is your mistake, and to admit that you made a mistake. And that is the progress that we get out of experimenting to try something we don't know is going to work or not. And most of the time, like you're saying, not as many of us want the accountability as would need to want the accountability, I believe, if we're going to actually be accountable enough to create a better situation for everyone. Because right now we kind of still want within the system the ability to be rocketed upwards within the hierarchy, with the whole hierarchical distinctions of looking up to the elites as if they are good on a level that we wish we were owed the goods from, but don't currently. So I don't know what I'm saying here really, but mostly just the whole elitist mentality that we want to have part in by being part of the managerial class, selling out and being fake on that level. But at what point does everything just need a reset and an ice break, and just the fact that we can always wonder if we're even correct about what we think is the case. And it's kind of rare to have the kinds of discussions where you're not talking past each other as far as pumping your own just hobbies and likes and ideologies and seeing who else pings in the same direction and resonates completely with that or disagrees and makes fun of it or whatever. And it seems difficult to have the kind of civil discourse dialogues where both parties are coming into a conversation and saying, we don't know what the full-on case is, but we're equals in the ability to observe life and discuss things so we can talk it out and figure out what's going on and bring multiple perspectives and see how many of the infinite number of perspectives we have that we can collect together and see what's more accurate than what we currently know. Or is there any better way to do that? Or is there any way to reconcile differences? Because it seems like we have so many different ideological camps that only kind of want to portray the other side as evil and bad and wrong. And we kind of have this simplistic entitlement mentality these days where we want to be told we're correct about stuff. And here are all the reasons why we're already correct, and you don't have to question or think about the other side because they're evil. You know what I mean? It's pretty polarizing, and it's unfortunate. And there are big differences in ideologies these days, for sure. But I think it's hard to have those kinds of conversations as often these days, as much as we maybe need it. But maybe that's the big irony and the reason we're in this situation in the first place,
I think the irony, for me, there's a big picture irony where okay, so for all the people chasing after the same game as elites, it's like the big picture irony for me is that when I go to third world countries, been to Malaysia, not really a third
Yeah,
world at that point, but just out in the villages in China, it's like these
yeah,
people are so happy. They spend every day with their families. They're just chilling. They're laughing. They're simple. You can say ignorance is bliss, but dude, they're living it, right? And they're not worried about who's rich, who's poor, what the government's really doing unless they're taking their land or whatever, right? But it's like, only the real day-to-day things matter to them, which is what should matter. It's not what, oh, this elite's doing or that elite's or the town politicians are doing. No, it's just what do I need to do to put food on my table, to have fun with my family, have a good time, have a good organic interaction with my neighbors and all those things, right? And that's what we as Americans need. We lost sight of that. We've gone so far down this rabbit hole of wanting to be rich, wanting to be like the elites, that we forgot that we don't actually deserve that. We don't need it. We don't deserve it. We probably don't even want it once we have it. In fact, most people who go from rags to riches would tell you it's not worth it actually, right? It's like more money, more problems, right? It's a true thing, right? Like I'm not rich,
right.
but as soon as I started making money, yeah, more money, more problems, dude. Like you think you want more, and you might overextend a little bit, and then you end up going under, which is not a situation you would have been in before you started making money,
Right. As soon
right?
as you are comfortably
So
well off enough to where you feel you can support most of your needs, basic needs and things within the whole system and financial structure and all, it becomes hard to see why making more money would add guaranteed levels of happiness, because as we all know at that point, money would be fake if we are expecting it to solve our problems at that point. So, like, how real really is it? And how many people get to be one of the elites or deserve to be one of the elites? You're saying basically nobody, because, I mean, I guess we're all equal in some level organically as organisms in the ecological sense. But at the same time, we do need leadership somehow, and part of that is ideological, spiritual, intellectual, whatever you want to call, contributive, just journalistic leadership. Somebody has to communicate on some level to say how it is with each other, and we're so interconnected globally and news-wise at this point that a lot of people pay a lot of attention to, example, U.S. politics, even if they're in Australia or something, and maybe some people in small villages have the luxury of not caring about it or what the elites are doing, how are they affecting us negatively or whatever. But we have such an infrastructure built in terms of the whole public education system and all of our institutions, and whether it's universities doing scientific research or whatever it is, we have so much built in intellectual leadership, quote unquote, that steers how we think of news stories and how we think of what we need technologically, medically, and all with all these publications, that the question then is, are there too many of these elites? And if so, why would we deserve to be part of them? Or how would we decide that it is our responsibility to pay attention to what the elites are doing, and at the same time say we shouldn't be caring what the elites are doing? That is only for a small portion of us elites, quote unquote, or less elites, just middlemen somewhere along the line of the elites who have to pay attention somewhat enough to tell everyone else on a delegation type level what's going on, and is there any realistic good that comes out of that? And, you know, somebody's got to be calling things out, calling the shots as they are coming in, the way they see it. So I guess it's just how much communication we want to have with each other on any level that is organic enough that it cuts through the whole corporate structure and the bread and circuses of us just going through and using technology only for consumption-based entertainment and not for anything that's real, that makes us satisfied. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, it's like, oh, the elite guy can have it. Why can't I? It's basically just like a basic, like, childish mindset. I feel like it's just a very childish mindset that gets propagated into adulthood, and you layer all the, the adult terminologies on top of this, but it really it's I mean people, not you, like the average American will layer all these like buzzwords that they learn throughout their adult life on top of this basic feeling of, oh, they have it, why can't I have it? Right? It's like, but do you even think you need it? Like, and once you get it, do you have an action plan that you can carry out where you use this money, wealth, whatever it is, to like attain something that actually makes you happy? Or do you just like want a bigger number? Right? For most people, it's the latter. Right? For me, I try to focus on the former, which is, money is basically just a means of getting some organic happiness, because in this structured society, quote unquote, you just somehow can't really easily get it because it's not a third world society. It's a first world, so everyone's basically got to like do this fake job thing 8 to 5 to like live like a normal like a third world country person would, if like not even as good. Basically, I would say our quality of life is like lower than the average quality of life of somebody just living in like Vietnam or something, like just fishing every day, getting fresh food every day,
right?
Like the best water.
Yeah, some places won't even take our food if we try to export it.
I know. It's we're just so processed, right? I mean, like most European nations are rejecting like all meats coming from America, like the USD DM meats or whatever. Like,
right.
It's just like,
USDA is not good enough for them, apparently.
USDA, right? USDA, sorry. Yeah. USDA standards are bullcrap, apparently. Like, just I didn't look into the specifics, but like I guess that the thresholds for various contaminants is like, I guess above what other countries deem as toxic or harmful for the average human body, right? But then Americans would be like, oh, well, Americans are different. We're built different. It's like, no, we're not. We're all the same humans. Like,
yeah, well, USDA, that's interesting. I hear they are at the beef production areas daily for inspection, and that sounds like a very common frequency
it's kind of,
for it to be still not on. It's a rabbit hole because that's corporate compliance.
Because who
getting in touch with
USDA?
USDA,
Like
yeah.
it's right. It's the same. If you go up the ladder, not the corporate, the go up the business ladder, it's the same group of people, right? Like managing
Right.
everything,
The managerial
overseeing
class that's helping
everything.
the Congress write the bills or maybe writing it for them because they don't want to be writing 1,000 pages down. They want to go get some funds for their next campaign, obviously.
Right. The way I see it is the same way tow yards are in cahoots with like police, right? It's like, well, the police like they tow a car because it's been parked wrong or something, and they tow it to a tow yard that they're in cahoots with. They will leave it at the tow yard for like 3 days, where it's already like acquired like $700 a day worth of like storage fees, right? And then they tell the owner, oh, we found your car. But it's been sitting at the lot for 4 days, and you owe 4 times 700, and you have to pay like 2,800 to get it out. So it's a straight up con, right? So I mean, that's what it feels like to me. I mean, that's what you're describing to me. But in terms of like the car thing, right? It's just like, well, the USDA thing is basically, well, let's make some regulations to like basically just screw everyone over while we're making money. Like that's all. Like, that's all I can really sense from that. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure like someone like Bill Gates funded like not
Right.
USDA, but like dude, like I mean, all
He's
right,
one of the
like
biggest farm owners, I think.
right. So I'm like, all right, like if there's anything you should know about Bill Gates, you do not invest in what he's investing in. Like it's usually just purely for self-interest, right? Okay, so this guy's buying farms. Okay, so like, what does he expect? So he basically thinks that some point maybe that either the likely other nations that we get food supply from is going to like devalue the U.S. dollar, so we're not going to have buying power to get goods from
Imports.
other countries,
Right.
imports, right? Like, and so we have to grow our own food. And so this guy's trying to jump on that boat, right? He's trying to jump on that ship early. He's figured I got all these billions of dollars. I can buy up these farmlands early before the prices go up when everyone realizes that we can only source domestically, right? And like it's just like a good personal gain thing. Like he's not actually going to be like, oh, like I'm gonna make sure Americans eat well, like anything like that. It's like no, this is like very lucrative
No.
for him, and that's it,
Right.
right? Like he's not. There's no plan for like, I'm gonna make sure I add these non-toxic grow chemicals into the soil. I'll make sure it's all organic. No, nothing like that. It's just like the most systematic, economical approach to like making food, like growing food. Like, and there's no, oh man, there's like no organic aspect to it whatsoever in terms of like what it does for people, right? So